All right, we have a fantastic guest today. Head coach Rick Arand of Lena Winslow High School has been coaching for 29 years. He's in the Illinois Sports Hall of Fame. So we're talking to a coach who has accomplished a ton of things. 10 quarterfinal appearances, 4 semifinal appearances, 8 conference championships, 19 playoff appearances. Has been a head coach. I think this will be your 23rd year, if not mistaken, as a head coach, or 24th year maybe. And has really done a fantastic job as a coach. He's one of the legends in Illinois as a football coach, and we're excited to have Coach on. It's great to have you, Coach.
Hey, thanks. Thanks for having me. I'm actually older than you thought. This will be my 29th year as a head coach.
29th year as a head coach. 29
I'll
years.
take 23 though. That'd be okay.
29. So then 30. What? 5 years as a coach overall.
Yes. Yep.
Very, very cool. Very cool. You graduated from what, Indiana? I think it was. Did you graduate?
I went to graduate school at Indiana.
Okay.
I went to undergrad at Loras College out in Dubuque, Iowa.
Okay.
Yeah.
Very, very cool. Go talk about your career as a player, and then obviously a long career as a coach, and kind of a long career as a head coach. So some of the things that have changed and evolved over time from time you started as a head coach. I guess back in the 90s, the mid 90s, and then to now.
Yeah. So I think 97 was my first year as a head coach, I believe. I'm a 1985 grad of Stockton High School in the state of Illinois. I think you guys are out east, right?
Yes, New Jersey.
Yeah. So we're where we sit is we're west of Chicago, about 2 hours and 10 minutes from Wisconsin. So we're in the very northwest corner of Illinois. I graduated from a small town that's actually just down the road, about 10 miles. Played for a legendary high school coach in the state of Illinois. He was fortunate enough to win a handful of state championships and was just a great coach, great guy. Played for a really great high school basketball coach as well, who is actually still coaching in the state of Wisconsin now as a head basketball coach. And he actually this past season he just coached. He's one of 3 coaches in the history of the state of Wisconsin that coached in his 1,000th game. So
Wow.
yeah. I'm not sure really. I was an average high school athlete, played 3 sports, and never really excelled in any. But I worked hard and I liked the preparation, and so that's kind of what got me into teaching and coaching, was really those 2 guys. And I was fortunate enough that my first job was here at Lena Winslow, and I've never left. And I spent I spent my first 5 years as an assistant coach, and the last 29 as the head coach.
You've had a tremendous amount of success over that time period, and tremendous amount of longevity. Talk about some of the things that you've seen evolve and change over the years, and what you've been able to do and adapt to enable yourself to kind of move with the times and continue to have success over longevity.
Yeah. So first of all, we've always been a wing T team. Back in the 90s, that's what everybody was doing, especially at the small school level. The bigger schools, it was more pro I formation and things like that. But it was, I think at that time, it was kind of a run the football, play action pass first. That's what high school football was, and I think over time those things have changed in general in the realm of high school football, but we have never changed. We have evolved as a wing T team, I think, but we hardly ever throw the ball, which is unique. But I think that's what makes us successful, because I think so few teams do what we do that you never practice against it, you never prepare for it. I just think it's hard. It's hard for people to understand what we do. The one thing that I think has not changed over time, most people will tell you how different kids are now, but I think kids are still the same. I think parents are different. Um,
Mhm.
this this will make your ratings go down probably, but I think parents have changed. You know, a lot of single families out there. Um,
Yep.
and just I think you know, when I grew up, my mom was a stay-at-home mom. Um, so you always had that presence in the house, and there was always time for the kids. And I think, you know, anymore, I think people are just busy in their own lives, and sometimes their kids come second. So I think over time, I think in the last 29 years, I've probably become more of a father figure to our players and our students here at school as well than I was 29 years ago. And I think that's what's changed. But I think the kids are still the same. Kids, you know, kids crave, they really want discipline, they want structure. They may not have it at home, and they may come across as, you know, somebody who doesn't want that. But I think deep down they all do. And so I think, you know, basically those are some of the small changes that I've seen over time. But from a football standpoint, we are really still the same. We've played the same base defense for the last 29 years. We have modified it. We have defined it. Um, the one thing that is unique to us is our coaching staff has been really pretty much the same. In addition to getting some younger guys into our mix now, but um, the guy that my very first year, that he was a young guy just like me, and I got him to step on and become our defensive coordinator. He's still our defensive coordinator. He's been here 29 years. Um, we got a guy on staff that's a retired teacher now, comes back and teaches some biology classes. He's been here since 1987, and as a teacher and a coach, and you know, so he brings 40 years of experience almost into it. And we have two other coaches on our staff that have been head high school football coaches. So
That's
so
key.
yeah, so we've really got it going on. Most of our coaches are teachers in one of our three buildings here: elementary,
It's
junior
huge.
high, or high school. We're a tiny school. We're 240 students in our high school, so
Wow.
everybody knows everybody. Yeah.
Yeah, that's amazing.
That's a 240 kids in the whole, boys and girls.
Yeah. Yeah.
Wow, that's a
And coach, just to reference, like the wow that you're getting. So in New Jersey, there's 5 group levels of football. Group
Yeah.
one being the smallest, and Dave and I both played at Group One schools, which are obviously the smallest of it. So for us to wow at low numbers is like on a different level,
Yeah.
because that's like kind of where we came from.
Yeah.
So to hear that that's the entire number of what you have, it
wow.
doesn't shock me now that you're a wing T team 100%,
Yes,
right? It
yes,
doesn't
Yeah.
yes.
doesn't shock me that you kind of had the same people in place. I think that's something that's like, for the most part of a very successful smaller high school setting. I think you have that stability within it. I look at my alma mater. It's the same guys that have been there since right around your time, like 1996, right? It's the
Yeah.
same influx. The younger guys that they've brought in have been guys that have played there and
Exactly.
understand that culture. And I think there's something to be said for guys that coach low number population type of high schools, in that you need to know the intricacies of what goes into that and how those things work. And I think that's what breeds success, is knowing that, because you take a guy from a bigger group, like, a higher population school, they don't understand, one guy playing or never leaving the field, or
Yeah.
how to develop, when your younger guys play and do those types of things, or, the importance of multi-sport athletes. I think those are some of the intricacies that go into coaching those smaller number schools. So coach, with that being said, what's your total roster size? Do you have a sub varsity or JV and freshman team? Do you have some of those things? Speak on that a little bit.
Well, first of all, you just hit our school right on the head. I mean, as far as small schools in the state of Illinois, there's 8 classes in football. We're the smallest, which is 1A, and that number that enrollment number changes every year. It's determined when the playoffs start, but it's always just shy of 300. So enrollment of 300 and below is usually your class A.
Mhm.
And to be honest with you, from above that, I'm not really sure. 300, I don't know, maybe 450 or something like that would be the next one. But you hit it right on the head in terms of what the demographic is like around here. We're a town of 3,000 people. Yeah,
Yep.
we have anywhere between 55 and 70 kids out for football every year. That's 9 through 12.
That's
Like this,
amazing.
yeah, like this year we'll have probably about 35 on the varsity, 30 on the JV. Um, so we do play. We play Friday nights varsity games, Monday nights JV games. Um, we will
That's
play
how Jersey's
occasional.
set up.
Just yeah, we will play occasional freshman games on a Monday or a Thursday, depending on what our numbers are. We don't run into a lot of teams in our area at our school size that can field a freshman team as well. So that has become an issue over the last 15 years, probably with
Definitely.
declining enrollments and declining numbers in football. But we have really remained the same in terms of that, how many kids we have out over the years. We were a school, when I took over, we were a school of 400 students. And again, we had about the same number of kids out for football. So really nothing's changed in terms of that. We've had a lot of success over the last 15 years, 18 years. And so that has helped keep our numbers up.
Of course.
Every every little kid walking through the elementary wants to be a high school football player, wants to be a Panther, and play on Friday nights, play for state championships, which we've been fortunate to do. So yeah, so you hit it right on the head. It's exactly what it's like around here, and I wouldn't change anything. We have probably 5 guys on our staff of 10 coaches, 11 coaches at the high school level that are graduates of here. We got a
That's cool.
couple more that help run our junior high program.
Yep. That's huge.
So yeah, so I actually go out and recruit those guys as they grow.
Yep.
Every kid wants to leave this small town when they're in high school and college, and then a lot of them migrate back. And
Yep.
as they come back and they're working locally, some of them work from home. Then the ones that we really thought a lot about, we nab them and get them back, get them on staff.
What is it about the culture that you've built that you think has enabled that? Because in New Jersey, there's been places that were storied with success that as the schools shrank, they had a hard time continuing to maintain it. What are some of the things that you've been able to instill within your program to maintain that besides the winning I get obviously that
Yeah.
winning breeds success from that standpoint, but some of the cultural things that you've been able to do to really help maintain and grow that success.
Yeah. So I think a couple things. I think whether it's number one and number two or number two and number one, um, but our coaching staff, going back to that,
Yeah.
we have coaches within our program, whether it's junior high or high school, that teach in our elementary school. Our elementary school and junior high are connected, and they're directly across the street from the high school. So it makes it. I mean, if I want to go see a junior high kid right now, I can be in his classroom in about 3 minutes. Um, so we have several coaches that are elementary teachers, elementary classroom, elementary PE. We have 3 coaches in our middle school building, and I think first and foremost, every time, and those people they're well known that they're coaches. They're
Yeah.
probably they're multi-sport coaches, really. Most of our kids play at least 2 sports, if not 3. Um, but every time a kid turns a corner in one of our school buildings, is what I usually tell people, is they're running into a coach. So first and foremost, they're kind of held accountable by coaches throughout their entire school career, really. And when they're really young, they probably don't even know it, but
Nope.
I think the one part about being a coach as well as a teacher is you're instilling all those things into those kids, the discipline. I think you're probably a little better of a disciplinarian as a teacher slash coach than you are just a teacher or just a coach. And then secondly, I think the one thing that set us apart from anybody that we play, and I'm not saying we're at the top of it, but I got to believe what we do and how we do things is different than most places, and that's our strength and conditioning program. Um, we were fortunate enough about 10 years ago. Our district built us at the time it was quite a bit. It was they put about 1.5 million into a new weight room facility.
Oof.
We have continued to build on that. We're constantly looking for new things, innovative things. To do within there and make our programs better. And our kids absolutely crave the weight room. So I
Mhm.
think those two things, our coaching staff and our weight room program, I think we could run whatever offensive or defensive scheme we wanted to, within reason. Um, and be successful just based on those two things alone, that the guys that are on our staff, as well as what the kids do outside of the football field.
Yeah,
Makes
I
a
think
lot of sense.
no, the weight room and the multi sports obviously must be a huge deal. Um, uh, Talk about how you fit all that in because that could be difficult. Although I guess you guys, you teach in that school together, and you a lot of your guys coach multiple sports. That's probably something that you guys already have had worked out over the years since you've had a staff that's consistent. But how do you manage even maybe like parents that have concerns from that standpoint? Like, how do you manage kids that play multiple sports and working out and staying strong for football?
Well, first of all, another way we're unique is every um, which we only have 10 sports in our district, so we're pretty small. In the fall we have football and we have golf is it for boys. In the
Wow.
winter it's wrestling and basketball. There's no lacrosse. I assume lacrosse is probably big out there. We
Yeah.
have no lacrosse. No, we do have hockey. It's a co-op with a school out of Wisconsin, to be honest with you.
Wow,
But
that's interesting.
yeah, yeah. Well, it's only 10 miles away. So, but anyway, but at one point in time, um, I'm not even sure when it started, but it's still this way to this day. Every head coach of every other boys sport in our district is also on our football staff. So that helps a lot.
Amazing.
Yeah,
Wow.
yeah. So having like our track coach, our head track coach, which our track programs, boys and girls, are very successful. But our track coach runs all of our speed training stuff, for example, and
Yep.
uh, and he's also on our football staff. Our baseball coach is our head JV coach. Our wrestling coach is our D coordinator. Our basketball coach is our offensive coordinator. So that obviously helps because we're all in the same boat, really. We're all good friends and get along together and things like that. But um, we also have all of our athletes are in strength and conditioning PE classes, and I teach all of those, so that helps.
Ah, there it
Yeah,
is, Dave.
yeah,
That's
right,
always the
right.
one. That's
Yeah,
it. It goes hand
so
in hand with
yeah,
school.
so that has really helped, and we really try to be honest with you. We have so many kids that play three sports that for the most part in our strength training we try to keep them healthy throughout the year. I mean, they're getting stronger, they're getting better, but like last night we had a track meet. Our best running back coming back next year is a great one of the best sprinters in the whole state. And so he didn't work out this morning. He got on the foam roller, he heated, he biked, he did all those things. So that's kind of what we do, is we just kind of go out of our way to try to keep kids healthy and keep them happy, really, happy and healthy, and you know wanting to get better, I guess. And that's really been the key to it. Our kids know that all of our coaches think the world of them. We treat
Right.
them that way. Um, we're not shy about telling them how much we love them. Things like that. So it's been
Well,
it's been really a kind of a perfect mix.
Well, Coach, I think too, like being with that smaller, very much hands-on, you know, you're every parent is aware of how this program works. And if they're, most of those people probably on to school have played for it, they've been in it, they went to high school there, they understand how everything works in those terms, in that regard too, right? So, and then the kids working out with what you have coaching wise, right? Like each one of those coaches knows exactly which guy ran last night, or everybody's on the same page because basically you're all in the same office every day. And if not, you can walk across the street and have the conversation with them before the kid comes into your class, right? So I think those things, people, when it comes to the smaller schools and how things work, there's just so much more. I don't know if hands-on is the way to look at it, but it's more, like you're just in it with those kids. Like, you know what I mean? Like, yeah, you're more hands-on and the process to it. And look, the most successful teams I've been a part of as a coach have been when majority of your coaches are in the building with those guys, whether it's one's a PE teacher, one's a science teacher, somebody's in the guidance department, who's teaching special. Everybody has their hands in the building as well to develop that culture around, football itself. Everybody knows who the coaches are in a building. It's just how it works. Doesn't matter who it is, good, bad, or indifferent, right? Everybody knows those guys. And like you said, the leadership that goes along with it, I think, is intricate in what's going on. And also there's no pride in terms of, oh, well, he's a basketball guy, so he's got to do this, right? Like we really think a lot of that. Plus, in order for everybody to be successful on every team, you need those guys to play multiple sports because your best football player is probably one of your best basketball players. He's probably your best track guy. So everybody has to be all in or, no one's going to be successful. I think those are the little things that, a lot of our viewers that are at bigger schools or, they see a lot of coaches that, hey, he's got to be a basketball guy because, he needs to play in the spring and then he's got to be playing fall league or this or that. Everything centers around everybody doing everything so that you can all be successful. And I think that's really important for our viewers. Like, they see that they don't really sometimes understand that you don't need to be a one-trick pony when it comes to, oh, you have to stay a football guy because you got to be in the weight room in the winter. No, multi-sport guys, and Dave and I were multi-sport guys. We push multi-sport guys here with even the more options that they have sport-wise. But there's just something to be said about a multi-sport kid. It's one of the first things college coaches talk to us about when they ask about a prospect or a kid going to the next level. What other sports does he play? That stuff's intricate.
Yeah, I think your best athletes probably are going to be multi-sport kids. At the bigger schools, what you do have is that if a kid is trying to be a varsity player, he's got a certain level of ability, but he's not one of the elite athletes. That's when I think that's a lot of times when you see the kids really become these one sport guys, which I think is a mistake, but is definitely what happens, right? Because they get locked into like, I'm at a bigger school, it's going to be harder for me to make XYZ team. And in order to make it, I'm not that kid over there who can bounce from sport to sport and he's that good and do it. So I think that is a hard thing. At a smaller school, I do think that when you're a big fish in a small pond, that means almost everybody gets to be a big fish too, right? So even kids who, if they went to a bigger school, might be trying to make the varsity team here, they have a huge role. So being able to kind of go from sport to sport in a smaller school is kind of like a cool, fun thing that they all do, right? Because they all grew up together and they all, they've kind of done that their whole entire lives, and in the smaller school atmosphere allows you to do it. I think also that's why you see, like, when you get a really good athlete at a small school, he actually can go really, really far because he has played multiple sports. He's a little more injury immune because of that. Like he's got he also understands I'm the superstar in this, I'm a team guy in this, and then I'm a superstar here. Like kind of understands a little bit more of those things. And I think that's where the small school environment is. So if you sometimes, because it used to be the knock you up, and you probably hear this all the time. Oh, he doesn't play at a big school. How's he going to get looked at? Well, if you're a superstar at a small school, like you're a 3-sport athlete, and Derek just talked about how college coaches like that. Well, probably more likely to have a chance to be a 3-sport star at a smaller school, than you are at a big school. You look at guys like Cooper DeJean, right? Like out in Iowa, and where you're going and you're playing, he's able to be a star in 4 sports in his case. But then he gets recruited because of that, and he keeps getting better and better because he's built that kind of confidence level. It's always the great question of playing at a big school versus playing at a small school, and really comes down to knowing your kids and what's a good fit for them. And it seems like the kids that play in your high school, the community's involved there. I also really like, and I'd like you to talk about this. I really like, and people probably hate that I'm going to say this, but I really like at a small school where you limit the number of sports that are available, because I almost think, like, you know what, if you want a plethora of sports, like let's say lacrosse, there's probably a private school that you could go to for that or something like that. But at a small school, if you want to have a chance for success, limiting the number of sports per season gives you the opportunity to have more athletes in that sport, and allows you to have a greater opportunity for success. Talk a little bit about that.
Exactly. We have, like I said, we'll have 60 some football players this year. There's probably going to be about 20 golfers. So that is probably 2/3 of the boys in our school are going to play something in the fall. In the wintertime, we'll have 40 basketball players, 20 some wrestlers. Again, you're talking a large percentage of the population is playing a sport. We do have some schools in our conference that are slightly bigger than us, a class up, and they offer soccer to the boys in the fall. It's usually not, they're not going to be good in anything because there's not enough athletes to go around.
Absolutely.
And to be honest with you, if you asked our kids what lacrosse was, they wouldn't even know, because it's really the only place it's played in the state of Illinois is in Chicago suburbs. So as well as hockey in Illinois, there's no hockey in Illinois unless you play in a club. High school hockey is only in the suburbs. So it's really kind of funny. I had a daughter who's a junior now, who played some club hockey growing up in Wisconsin, and the only reason I really even knew much about lacrosse was because it seems like most of those kids in Wisconsin that play hockey in the winter play lacrosse in the fall. So
it's got to have a stick in their hand, coach, in some way.
Yeah, exactly, and it's a great sport. Going back to what you're talking about, multi-sport athletes at a small school. So you were talking about Cooper DeJean. We have a kid right now who's a 3-year starter at Iowa, right tackle for them. Jennings Dunker's his name. He'll be back next year for his 5th year. If he stays healthy, he's going to go in the top 4 rounds of the draft. We have a kid that's at Utah State. He started out at Iowa. Actually, at one time we had two guys playing football at Iowa, and a third one committed there, all within in a 3-year span. We had 4 kids. We had 4 kids at one time playing Division I football. We got a kid right now at North Central College in Naperville, which is Chicago suburb. They're a 2-time defending Division III national champion in football, and he's going to be a captain for them next year. And so the opportunity to go out and do great things athletically is there. I think a lot of times at small schools, kids fall into the trap of, we're really, really good every year in football, and I'm going to go play somewhere because we're that much better than everybody else. And then they get there and they find out, oh my God, these guys are all really good. And so we do run into that trap as well. But the handful of kids we have playing right now have just figured it out. We got a kid playing Division II football right now too out in Iowa, but we got kids now that have figured it out that they just love the game. They love the whole process of the college atmosphere and being in the weight room and being around the football facility, and they just love, they have grasped that and taken that on. They really love that, but it's not for everybody, as you guys know. It's
Right, right.
if you don't love it at the next level, you're going to hate it. So
Yep.
but the opportunities are there. The opportunities are there no matter what size school you're in. I think being a 2 and 3 sport athlete and getting away from your other sport is also good for you as well. I think it's good.
Absolutely.
It's not only good for your body, it's good for your mind, to go out and do something else. I think kids kind of forget, and parents really don't understand. Some of those parents don't, that you're still competing. I think that's the big thing, is you're competing at every season, every day of
Mhm.
practice, every day of competition, where if we have some kids, and again, nothing against them, they're putting in the work, but you go to a club tournament on a weekend, you're going to play 4 or 5 games. If you lose the first one, nobody cares. There's no tears, there's no nothing like that. Nobody's pissed off, because they know they're going to play 5 more games.
Right.
And so to me, that's not competitive, because if when you're competitive, whether it's win or lose, you're giving it your all, and something's going to hurt in there, especially in a loss. So I think being a 3 sport athlete, being competitive is the best thing you can do for yourself.
I think with being a multi-sport athlete allows you to do too is I think it's important to be able to go out there and compete, like you said, in something different, where your mind frame shifts from, let's say you're a football player and you go and play basketball, or you run track. Like, each sport has a different nuance that works
Yeah.
something different in your brain, and that requires some sort of different shift. Not necessarily, not the competitiveness. The competitive still, but things you got to focus on. Let's say you play basketball, right? It's a smaller court. You got to make quicker decisions a lot of times, right? You're running track. There's a different type of training regimen required, or there may be a different type of pain level required in something you're doing. It's an individual sport, right? So now you're able to focus more on yourself than maybe you are as everything for the team. And there's a different mindset there. I think those things are very good for an athlete, from an overall competitive standpoint, and it ends up helping them in all their sports. But it helps them, if they're primarily a football player, it helps them when they come back. It also gives them relief from their sport. Like, I remember, and I love football, and Derek, I don't know if Derek is the same exact way, but I remember when I went to the different sport, I was excited to go to a different sport. Like, I love football, but when it was over, I was, and when I played in college, that was one of the things I missed, was the fact that I could go and play another sport. You know what I mean? Like go get that energy out in a different way. And I think that part is really, really unique to multi-sport athletes. And to me, to parents, listen, the greatest thing is there's a trainer in every corner now, right? So if you want to train in your sport, even if you're playing another sport, so you're a football player and you want to do wide receiver skills, once a week or something, there's somebody you can go to do that. Go play another sport so your mind can shift, and you can still, train in that. So like, where people hate the trainers, I say, well, you know what? Why, you don't even have to go and play your sport, because you can go and train in it,
Right.
and still get some skill work if you need to get skill work in there. So, and
Well,
go play
in this age of, like you're saying, from a mental standpoint, you're transferring from, you're converting from football to basketball, and I think it's a good clean start. But in this day and age of mental health, is there anything healthier than being around your buddies all the time, being around your friends, And the unique things about sports is, if you're a multi-sport athlete, you're with that group of 30 guys in the locker room and on the practice field all the time during football. And then you go to a roster of 12 or 14 kids at basketball. It's a lot of different kids. So from that standpoint, you're broadening yourself a little bit because you're able to go with this group of kids, and you hopefully you have a handful of the same guys in basketball and in baseball or track too, but it's not all the same guys. So you
Nope.
learn a lot of things. You learn a lot of things not only about yourself but about other people by playing different sports because you're around a different group all the time. And I
That's
tell
an
our kids
important
that
point.
I tell our
Yeah.
kids that all the time. They'll be like, I don't think I'm going to play basketball this year. I'm like, well, you don't want to be with your buddies all the time? Why would you
Right.
not want to be with your buddies?
Like, what else is there to do? Also, I think like
Exactly.
there's something to be said for, hey, you might be the best football player, but now you go to basketball, maybe you're a
Yep.
sixth man, maybe you're coming off the bench, maybe you're a role guy, but you're
Yeah.
learning to play different roles and be a part of a team where, hey, you got to do your job, right? And I think there's something to be said for that kid that can go from being, hey, maybe I'm a big time football guy, but I'm just a role guy when it comes to basketball, or I'm a mediocre, you got to learn to compete. And that tells you something a little bit about yourself and those things as well, as you progress and play. And you know that if you played multiple sports, right? I think that's a key part too, is you got to know how to kind of fit those roles too as you go along in other sports and whatnot.
Well, and coaches love that too, because and again, I mentioned this kid that plays Division II football out in Iowa. He's a freshman out there this year. He was one of the best running backs in the state a year ago, and rushed for 2,500 yards or something like that. And he played basketball. He played basketball his whole played basketball the year, and he's like sixth or seventh man. But his coach also knew that he'd been in huge moments, so he
Yep.
wasn't going to get on the court and panic for you in a crucial moment. He just wasn't really good enough to start it. His skill set was not great, but he's going to compete for you. So what better kid to have? And I just think if you're a competitor, you're going to be a 2 or 3 sport athlete because it's just in your DNA.
Absolutely.
No doubt about it. There's no doubt about it. It's a thing that is a difference maker. Kids being able to play that, it keeps them healthier too.
For sure.
That's a form of training, playing a different sport. So like we're like, oh, I gotta go do speed training. Well, you go run track. If you got a good track coach, you can get that done there.
Yep.
If you play basketball, you wrestle. Like there's your conditioning in the wintertime. So
Right.
and if you're a wrestler, that's your strength development right
Yep.
there. You know what I mean, and your hand-to-hand combat skills. So depending on what you do, all those things relate. And I think that multisport athletes also in football, in my experience, they are more fluid football players. So meaning they're like they have more body control. They kind of understand different environments better. A lot of time, football players, who just do football and just lift and run or whatever, quote unquote, they seem to be very stiff because they've only moved. Football moves you in certain directions, mostly forward, back, or an angle, right? And whereas, like, if you're a basketball player, like you're doing everything, side to side, front, back, around, everything, right? If you're a wrestler, you're in all kinds of different situations physically. If you're running track, the max velocity that you have to reach is totally different than what max velocity you have to reach in football, right? So you start to get a feel for that.
Sure.
Even baseball, right? Even baseball, like the hand-eye coordination, those things are really difference makers. And over the long haul of time, I think it makes, in the short run, it doesn't make that big of a difference. In the long run, if you've been doing it your whole life, it makes a huge amount of difference in those skills. And people are like, wow, how does this baseball player catch so well as a receiver? Well, I mean, he's been catching balls like
Right.
his whole life, right? So
Yep.
and that's kind of how it works. as far as the philosophy of, so you guys are still wing T, correct? Have you
Yeah.
evolved? Have you changed it all within the wing T? Like, are you gone? Are you still old, or are you still
No, we're under center. We're under
okay?
center. We've never
Good
left
for you.
that. Well, I can tell you, the last 2 seasons, we've been beating the state championship game the last 2 seasons. We've been to 5 straight finals. We won 3, lost 2, and in the last 2 seasons combined, we've thrown it less than 40 times. So we're playing against schools that throw it 40 times in a game, and we're throwing it
Right,
40 times over the course of 2 seasons. I think we went into the state championship game 2 years ago, and we'd thrown it 13 times or something like that on the
right.
season. So, but we have evolved. I mean, the schemes we run up front, most people aren't running. We don't see a lot of what we're doing out of other people. Um, but so yes, we have evolved. We're just pretty much a bunch of stubborn old guys around here. So
Does
Yeah, but
you
coach,
feel like
what works, you do what you do, and you do it really well. And there's something to be said for that as well when it comes to evolution of offenses. You know what I mean? It's not like you're stubborn against changing something. You just know what your kids are capable of and what they're good at doing, and you do it, and you do it really well. Sometimes less is more. Everybody wants to overcoach nowadays or think they know everything because they watched a 10-minute video on YouTube of how to run spread offense, and now everybody's
right.
out here chucking it all around.
do
Well,
you
and
do
if
you do you have a youth program that like runs the similar system that you guys run? Is that
our our junior high program, yeah, but that's
okay?
just 7th and 8th grade. Really, our kids don't play much football before. They play a
Okay.
lot of flag football coming up.
Yep.
We got a big flag football league, which I think is great. From an
Keeps them
injury
healthy
standpoint,
longer. Yeah,
yeah,
absolutely.
from an
Yeah,
injury
like
standpoint, I think it's great. Everybody can pass and catch the ball in flag football. It's
Right.
so you're
they get
not
it out of their
designated.
early, coach.
You got some hope yet at that point, right? Um, and but I think what we do is has made us so much more physical on both sides of the ball than most of our opponents. We do play a lot of spread teams, especially anymore. But the game of football itself, um, if you look at the best teams in college football and the best teams in the NFL, why are they winning? They're winning because they're running the football. I mean,
Right.
um, look at what Saquon Barkley did for the Eagles last year.
Yeah.
Not that they weren't good before him, not that Jalen Hurts can't throw the football, but what do you rush for? Oh, well over 2,000 yards on the season, right? Um, your Ohio States, your Michigans, things like that are winning national championships. They're running the football first, and they're a physical presence. So I think, and you know what? To be honest with you, we've had quarterbacks in the past that we're not really capable of throwing the football 20 times a game. We It's just not what we do. Um, um, we've
Well,
had
one of
some
the things
really
too.
really smart kids and some really good players, but they're not going to throw the ball 20 times a game.
Well, I think what's and you could probably speak to this when you first started coaching, everybody probably ran the wing T, or
Yep.
most people ran the wing T,
Yep.
which made
Said
it
that.
when you play teams that run the wing T, they also have a better idea of how to stop the wing T, right? Because
Yep.
they can practice against it. But now it's one of those things like being different gives you an advantage. And if a team's a spread team and the level of contact that they're facing is not as high as the level of contact that your kids are used to, and they kind of in the wing T, they're looking for that contact to run the ball. It gives you honestly, it gives you an advantage. It's one of those things like the old thing becomes the new thing. So it's a thing, and we've seen it here in New Jersey where everything went to spread. Spread guys got an advantage for a long time because everybody was running either an I or a wing T system, and they didn't know how to defend the spread, right? But then
Yep.
over time, as people learned how to defend the spread, and then everybody was doing the spread. Now some of these teams that are wing T or running downhill have had a huge advantage because those other guys have not faced as much of it. It's almost the same philosophy of like option football, right? If you're great at option football, I mean, how many times do you see it? So you start to get a certain advantage. I'm sure you're in games where you guys are running the ball. It's like boom, boom, boom down the field, and you score, and these guys can't even handle the physicality. You just know, forget it. These guys are in trouble, right?
Well, the best team we've played in the last 3 years, we played them in back-to-back state championship years. We beat them the first year, and we lost to them the second year. A team from Southern Illinois down by St. Louis named Camp Point Central, and they're a wing T team. They actually look exactly like us. I know their coach well, and we do a lot of the same things, but it was who's going to execute. Both teams were physical. It wasn't a matter of that. It was a hard hitting game, but that's the best team we've played in 3 years, and we played them 2 years in a row in state championship game, and they're probably going to be right back there next year. And
absolutely.
Hopefully we are as well. And 2 classes up from us, we do a lot of things in the summertime with a team from about an hour away, Byron High School, and they're a power in 3A, and they're a wing T team just like us. It's it's kind of a brotherhood, really. You go to clinics, and there's some guys that go to the spread rooms, and some guys go to the wing T rooms, and we're the guys drinking beer, and they're drinking margaritas. So.
It's a perfect way to put it, Coach. Perfect.
Maybe wine. I'm not sure.
Yeah, it depends. There's something to be said about that gritty. Just is what it is. It works. It works if you work it, and look, it also helps you. I mean, look, the amount of kids you have in your program at the size of your high school is unbelievable. It's a credit to like the culture that goes into the town. Like you said, everybody wants to grow up being a Panther football player. It's everybody is just in it, right? From parents to traders to everybody's all in on being a Panther football player. Like you said, 5 straight, state title games. I don't care what level of ball it is. That's success. Guys in college, don't tell me you can't play at a small school and get to a big school, because, I was a staple of it, and it just kind of works what it is. And then consistency within your staff itself. I think all of those things are such a credit to like the program and how things are built, Coach, and that's just why you're successful. It's awesome. It's really great to see that guys can still do it a certain way, in my eyes, like the right way, because a lot of times everybody tries to reinvent the wheel. Why? Right? Like, I'm sure you've adapted with the times, like you said, but it comes down to one thing, and it's a buy-in into the strength and conditioning program, like throughout the entire year. Guys they're doing it. You're in it in terms of your PE classes are part of it, which means school is part of it. You know what I mean? Like, and everybody's rocking and rolling, and because health is ultimately what it comes down to in a small program. You lose one guy, that might be the guy, and there goes your whole season, because you might not have a guy that could do that in your entire program.
Only got one of them, yeah.
That's it, and that's part of it. So if you don't take care of those guys, knowing when to push, when not to, when to lay back, when to all that stuff. It's just, it has to be there. And I think a lot of people need to understand that, we don't need that bright and shiny, field and lights and all that other kind of nonsense. Like, weight room, like, invest there, because that's where, the most, you're going to get a lot more from it. So it's awesome to see, Coach. Appreciate it.
Yeah. Thank you. Appreciate it. It's been a lot of fun. Continues to be a lot of fun. I think I'm probably having more fun coaching now and teaching than I ever have. I can retire any day. I just can't quite bring myself to do it. So, but yeah, as long as the kids want to still play.
Coach, as long as it hasn't turned into a job, then don't go nowhere, buddy, because believe me, that's just what it is.
Right.
We've seen a lot of guys kind of like, hey, the grass is greener somewhere else, but there's something to be said for, like you said, 29 years, and now you're having more fun than you've ever have, when people are kind of looking the other way when it comes to organized sports or football in general. Like, Guys,
Yep.
if you do what's, if you care about it and you do things the right way, like you said, kids haven't changed. They still want to be coached. They want structure. They want to be
Yep.
pushed a little bit, right? It's not about being their friend all the time, but it is about telling them how much you care about them, and then they'll run through a wall for you. So
Exactly. That's for sure.
appreciate it,
That is for
Coach.
sure. Yeah. Thank you, guys.
I can't thank you enough for coming on. It was great talking to you, great meeting you, and much continued success to you.
Thanks. Yeah. Stay in touch. This was fun, and I'll be checking you guys out. So.
All right. Good.
Absolutely, Coach. Good luck, buddy.
Yeah.
Have a
Thank
great
you.
day.
You,
Bye.
You too.
Yep. You too. Thanks.
Bye. Excellent. I love coaching, talking to small school guys. It's great.
Well, it
Great.
just brings us back. Dude, that's a lot of wow. Dude, 200 kids in school.
Well, so I one of the things that I think is so important when you have that low number is you have to limit the sports, because like that was, Powell Park before I got when I was in high school, they were a powerhouse in football. Okay. And you know the reason why they were a powerhouse in football? They only had two sports. They only had football and cross country. So
This is what you're doing. Like, you only have these options.
When they added
You know what I
soccer,
mean?
when they added soccer at a small school, they split the athletes. So that's when they started to have a problem. Leonia's was similar, it's a little bit bigger school, but similar issues. And that's why they end up being combined. So, but it's obviously it's always parent pressure. It's like, hey, we need to have this other sport. My kid plays this, you know what I'm saying?
Right.
But I think resisting that at a small school, like, and my whole thing is at a small school, if you want your kids to have success, if they want to play that other sport, I understand if a kid was like a soccer player, like you're either going to have to go to a different town or you're going to have to go to a private school, right? And I know that like people are like, oh, that's ridiculous. Well, then everybody fails at everything. Like,
right.
is
So
that
would you
good
rather
too?
just be like, right, or would you rather just be mediocre and be 500 across the board in every sport, or would
Every
you rather
sport?
go win a state title where those guys can talk about it for the rest of their lives? Like, look, it's
And
the
then
same thing. Like,
you don't get good coaches in your school because of that, right?
who wants to go to that? Who wants to do that? Who wants to always have to be like struggling?
Correct. So that over time, over a long period of time, 10, 20 years, you start to get, you might have had a high caliber coach, but then over the communication in the coach, whatever sport it is, by the way, the coaching.
Yeah, this is across the board. This isn't
like,
football.
Don't take that job. Don't go there. Like, you're going to be,
right.
You're
always going to be fighting the other team for athletes. Like,
and I think that it's smart how they do it now. You know what I mean? It's interesting that golf is the other one. I thought that was interesting.
Holy shit. That was.
I didn't expect that. I thought they were going to say cross country. I thought he was going to say cross country because I figured.
Yeah, because it's usually a non-like contact or whatever sport.
Yeah.
But I look at like Butler, right? Like, we never had lacrosse. People tried to get it, never had it. Not going to do it. Not going to do it. If you do it, there goes track, there goes baseball, because then you're splitting athletes. You're doing it 3 times. You're splitting them like that. Or you're going to have all your athletes flock to whatever coach or program is run the best.
Yeah, well, that's true too. So then, like, lacrosse is a good example. Those kids play year round, right? For the most part. And
indoor, outdoor, club, like, shit.
You're losing them not just for that season, maybe playing another sport. You're losing them across the board, unless you're at places like there are places like Ramapo and Ridgewood and Rumson where Manasquan, where a lot of those guys play football also, but it's not everywhere. That's not how it is everywhere. So. But anyway, but that was very good podcast, very interesting insight. I have to go and look up exactly where that school is located now because I'm curious.
Well, Northwest. He's on. I mean, like you said, he's 10 miles from Wisconsin.
Right. So.
So you're almost working more. You know what I mean? Like
towards Iowa.
Yeah.
Towards Iowa.
like where it is within the border itself. Like, holy, you know what I mean? Like Northwest, like that's, you're out there.
Sounds like where I like to live. There's less people.
Sounds phenomenal, to be honest.
Sounds like less people. That sounds like fun.
I mean, he said 2 hours west of Chicago.
Yeah, I'm looking at it. 2 hours west. Okay.
Home of the Panthers. What a great name, too.
Okay, I see where it is. It's actually, it's northwest, but
it's north. It's more north than I think it is west.
It's more north than it is west.
Right. It's closer to Wisconsin than it is to
definitely
Iowa.
Iowa. Right.
Hell, that's awesome though. 29 years, same building, same position, bro. Like, I love the fact that his like DC is the basketball coach and somebody else is the track coach, right? Like, but everybody's a football coach. Like, that's amazing.
Interesting.
And that it's not like the high school and then the elementary and the middle school. It's like one giant campus. You know what I mean? Like, that's something. There's something to be said for that too, dude, in terms of like smaller schools, even facilities wise, right? Like, you don't have to get on a bus to go to the middle school to play your freshman basketball game or something like that. Like, and like, where did they put their money? $1.2 million, or whatever it was, weight room facility. Why? Because now that's important because we can utilize that for what? PE classes. And guess what? If you're in PE and you're an athlete, you probably take the lifting class or the whatever class with, guess who? The head football coach.
It is far. Now I had to pin it there. Okay, so it is close to Iowa too. It's probably
it's the northwest corner.
Wow.
It's awesome.
I actually flew into that airport in Iowa, Dubuque, once. I don't remember why, but I did.
Dude.
Oh, I know. I went to Northern Illinois to visit a linebacker there. Oh, who was a great player in college. It was a little.
That's why I love talking to these guys from other places too, and they give you such perspective and such like, look, 40 throws in 2 seasons. Some dudes did that in the first half of the first game of the year.
Yes, that's interesting.
That's a hell of a stat, dude. We gotta link him up with Coach Valdez from UC. Those two guys.
I think Valdez might throw more.
He does.
The Greg Grudges from Waldwick was almost comparable, but I think even he threw more than 40 times a season.
Coach Gallagher at Montville when I was there, right? Ultimate wing T guy. He didn't throw much. It's probably how I had the most interceptions I had in my career against Montville every year because you knew when they were throwing.
Of course, yeah.
They only had 2 pass plays, for Christ's sakes, Coach. Sorry, dude. Like, flood. Okay, I'm going to jump the second level.
Out. Right?
That's it, buddy. Like, okay. And when you got a D-edge screaming off the edge, he's got to pull up soon and throw the waggle. That's kind of going to hang up there, Coach. Like, sorry, bud. Like, you got it.
Here comes Derek.
I'll be like, oh, thank you very much. Like, I don't have to be any type of athlete to get this thing out here. It's just like a punt. We're good. Like, it's all good, dude. It's like, shit. I tell guys, like, hey, that's how I just upped the stats. I got to play Montville every year, and that's, and this is what we're doing. But I look, it's awesome. I think those guys, like, you can tell he's still a young guy at heart, but damn, 29 years as a head coach at the same place. That's something to be said. And he said, look, he's had the most success, like 15 years, like, I'm sure he started out, it was a struggle, and he had to build it up and do whatever. And look, you're talking about an offensive lineman, too, at Iowa, about to go, probably going to get drafted, dude. That's pretty good. It's pretty cool.
There's no doubt. You start to get to Western and Illinois, boy, that's country. That's like, it's not like people don't realize that Chicago is city area, right? And that whole corridor going up is, towards Wisconsin.
See, everybody wants to judge places by what the biggest city is. Think about it, dude. Nobody understands what New York City is They think it's New York City. They have no idea what New York State is, dude. Like,
New York State's farm, dude.
dude, it is everything other than what New York City is, bro. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, and that's not even venturing that far outside the city. Like, we're not even talking Syracuse, Rochester, Buffalo. Like, that's all different for, you know what I mean? Like, come on, man. So people like wanted the geography of places. Like, look, you could look at it in New Jersey, North Jersey to South Jersey, not even close. Like, not even close until you start getting more towards like PA and Philly. So good for him, dude. It was a good hit.
Definitely a good hit. Absolutely.
And
All
then
right.
Friday we'll be back with Coach Schooner from Stonehill, wide receivers coach at Stonehill University.
Oh, that sounds good. That sounds good. All right. I got to talk to some real quick.
Yeah, hit me. Yeah, I'll stay up. Let me know.
All right. Great pod. Great pod, by the way. Great pod.